Hello everyone. Today I would like to discuss the record numbers of people living as singles and try to explain why this might be happening. And today I'm in Las Vegas, which is probably better at bringing people together for gaming and industry conventions than for romantic reasons, though that too may be debatable. However, back to the topic. A recent Pew Research report indicates that 42% of the adult population in the US are single, which works out to approximately 105.6 million people are single here in the US. And that would be across all age groups of adults 25 years of age and older up to senior citizens. But still, that is just a really huge number, and for some reason, people are not forming relationships as much as they used to. And why this is happening and why this number continues to grow seems to be a bit of a mystery. This is a huge increase from, say, 1980, when only 28% of the adult population were single, and that is also up from, say, 1950, when just 22% of adults were single. So what possibly changed? The numbers really started taking off in the late 1980s, going from 28% of people being single in 1980 to 38% by 1990. So just in that one decade, the number of singles increased by about 30%, and the figures continued to climb since the 1990s, reaching our current high of 42% of adults identifying as being single. However, the numbers are even higher within some age groups, such as the 25 to 39-year-olds, with 45% of men reported as being single within that age group. And in that same age group, the 25 to 39-year-olds, 39% of women report being single, which is also rather high, though still quite a bit lower than what it is for men. And that difference of 6% between the single men and single women, that equals about 4 million more men than women are single. And this has been a bit perplexing for the researchers. For some reason, young women seem to be better at finding partners than young men. However, as age increases, the numbers reverse, with 28% of men and 35% of women in their late 50s identifying as being single. And of course, we're going up in age here quite a bit. And then if you continue further, by the time people are 65 and over, the difference grows even more, with close to twice as many single women as men, or 29% of men being single in that 65 and over versus 51% of women being single. However, as people age, that's probably to be expected, as women tend to outlive men. So to put it bluntly, men simply die sooner. And back to the age discrepancy in the single status between men and women in the 25 to 39-year-old age group. There's lots of possible explanations for this, why there's so many more single men than women within that group. And one such explanation is that men are underreporting being in a relationship, which is sort of a possibility, or women are over-reporting being in a relationship, which is also another possibility. Or also, probably more likely, is that many women are simply sharing the same guy. For example, it's said that only 5% of doctors are single. So if you want to guarantee having a great income and not being single, simply become a doctor. However, for the other 99% of America, something seems a bit amiss when such a high percentage of the population, or 45% of men, are single. And when I say single, I should clarify this a bit. That does not mean a person is living by themselves per se. Many singles live with other people, such as roommates or family members, but they just don't have a romantic partner. And what's really interesting is not just the living arrangements of singles, with about 3 out of 10 single men living with their parents, but also their employment situation, with only 73% of single men reporting being employed versus 91% of men who are married. And that is just a rather huge number, with about 23 million men in this age group, the 25 to 39-year-olds. So that's approximately 6 million unemployed Americans just right there within that group. However, it's not clear if most in this group are even being counted as being unemployed, as if you are not looking for work, you are not considered unemployed. These men would be considered simply to be not participating in the labor force, so they just very likely simply aren't counted. And here is a chart of the labor force participation rate in the U.S. going back to the early 1900s. And as you can see, we are back to the 1970s rates, with only about 62% of the adult population participating in the labor force. And these are all rather also large numbers. And if I was someone in government, I would be more than a bit concerned about all this. And besides reduced employment, the declining number of people in relationships could also explain the drastically declining birth rate in the U.S., which decreased over 30% from 2.48 births per woman in 1970 to 1.62 just last year in 2024. And any number below 2 indicates a declining population, which the U.S. will eventually experience when immigration is not factored into the population equation. And not only are there fewer families and fewer children, but also the financial situation of single men is not very good. The single men who do work only average about $35,000 per year of income versus $57,000 for married men. So that is a considerable income difference there. And single women also do not do as well financially versus their married counterparts, as they only earn about $32,000 per year versus $40,000 for married women. However, the income gap for single men is substantially larger. So basically, we have almost 27% of the prime working age men who, for one reason or another, have basically dropped out of the workforce. And my question would be, is this more of a problem of there not being enough good paying jobs, where almost 1/3 of men in the 25 to 39-year-old age group are choosing just not to work? Or do single men feel that since they are single, even a good paying job is not worth attaining, since they will probably still be single either way? I think there are probably a multitude of reasons why more people than ever are single. Some may be financial, such as a lack of good paying jobs and also the high cost of living. And some may be because of societal changes, such as higher expectations from both men and women, and many people possibly also viewing the single life differently than before, maybe a little bit more favorably than before. But if I had to pick the one main cause, it would probably be financial. The middle class seems to be shrinking each year in the U.S., and the cost to afford the American dream, such as your own home and a nice car appears to have become further and further out of reach for many. And basically, the math is no longer adding up between what the average person earns versus the cost of living. And I think the stress from all of this of not having a middle class lifestyle seems to be so to say trickling down, to use the term of the late President Ronald Reagan. And not only are we seeing more people struggle, but a fundamental aspect of our society appears to not be functioning very well when so many people are living alone by themselves. And with the large discrepancies of single men outnumbering single women, this is almost what one might expect to see in, say, a third world country where the wealthier men have, say, multiple wives or girlfriends, and the less affluent put off having a relationship and are just satisfied to basically just survive. And so, getting back to Ronald Reagan, his trickle down economy appears to be going the wrong way. Life was supposed to improve for the average person, and however, it appears to have become more difficult for many. And I think one solution that I see is, with more people living alone, cities should be building more studio or one bedroom apartments, as most people won't be needing the additional space for kids they will never have. And if more people than ever are stuck in low paying, dead end jobs or have large student loan repayments, they probably can't afford to upkeep much more than a studio apartment anyway. Anyhow, these are just my thoughts on the singles data released by the Pew Research Group. Please share your comments below on why you think so many people, especially men, are living the singles lifestyle. And thank you for watching.